welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I will show you exactly how I made my big nurse shark with all the little details, since a lot of you on my TikTok often ask for more detailed tutorials. So in this video, this is my tutorial on the big nurse shark. And to make this you will need these materials. So first what you need to do is you go on Pinterest or Google or somewhere to find your inspo pic. And then you just start to sketch out, like I did, the shape and the outline of the shark. Because I want the length of my two dorsal fins to be as correct as possible, I always mark on the shark the length and where I want them to be before starting on the fins. When I've done that, I simply just start working on the tail, and this tail took me so long, and I kept rearranging and fixing it all the time. When I'm making the tail, I keep on looking at the picture because a tail is very unique to every shark. So it's very important that you get like all the little details and stuff all right. And now I'm starting to work on the dorsal fins, and I just take my pencil to like measure out where, like how long it is, just like what I think basically. And then again I keep on looking at the picture because it's a very good baseline, and then I draw this triangle because like it's a pretty good shape to start it off with, and then I just draw more and more details to get it as correct as possible. And the other dorsal fin is pretty much the same. The angle is not as sharp, but it's still like this triangle-ish that I go for. When it comes to cutting out the shark, I use a hobby knife because I'm working with a very, very thick cardboard piece. You can use scissors if you're working with a smaller piece, but I would still recommend using a hobby knife, because it's sharper and you don't get these wrinkles in the cardboard. And try to cut as vertically you can as possible so you don't get like two different like base sizes. When I've cut it all the way around the first side, I turn it around and then like cut everything out again, because like you don't get all the way through, so this just makes it way easier to pop it completely out. When it's popped all out, I just take some more masking tape and just secure it completely, and this won't be visible, so you can just put as much as you like, but it won't really be necessary to put more than one, depending on like the cardboard thickness. And so far this is the baseline before all the fins. And now I'm just doing the exact same thing. I'm cutting out the tail. And this is the tail finally cut out. And after I've cut out the fins and the tail, I start on working on like the dimension of like the upper body of the shark, and I keep on looking at my picture at this point to see exactly where like it bumps up and when it's time to like go down again. For this part I would also recommend using like different types of pictures, like look at a lot of different sharks, because like to be completely sure that you have the right shape. Like just look at a bunch of different nurse sharks. And this step right here is very important. Like I use my hand to like bend like the upper body so it matches like the shape of the shark, and sometimes you have to bend it like a bit more than you think. Like I just sit here, and then you can just like have fun with it and try away with it until it matches like the bottom line you drew. I also do this with the tail, and then I just afterwards reattach it and glue it all together. Because you want it to be very secure, use a lot of glue, and my cardboard is a bit annoying, so I also have to use a lot. And I often start by just gluing one part, and then afterwards I glue another part, like right here. And then you can just use some glue to secure the sides after you've put it on, just to be extra safe. When attaching the tail fin, again, use a lot of glue. Like you just need a lot of glue, and you can also like afterwards again put a bunch of glue, because you need it to be very secure so it won't fall off. And as you can see here, I also use the same technique with the tail to like bend it, so it has like this flowy look, like it's in the water. And now I'm just taking the cut out dorsal fins and attaching them to the body. And again, you'd also want to bend these a little bit so like it matches everywhere, and so it won't be like straight on something curvy. And now this is pretty much like the base of the shark. So yeah. For this next part, this part is all about making a roundish shape to get a more realistic looking shark. And for this you'll need a lot thinner cardboard that I'm using right here, because it'll be too hard to bend these small pieces. And then what you need to do is just cut out a lot of these like rectangular small pieces, like right here. And then you just, the closer to the head, the smaller they are, and then I mark with my pencil where I need to cut it out for it to fit perfectly. And that's basically just what you need to do with all of them. I personally always start with making one side, and when I'm done with the first side, I just start taking my hot glue gun and gluing them all together. And right here I just needed a bit more stability, so I just took two smaller pieces and glued them on right there. And now these are both sides done, and I just did the exact same thing on both sides. And because you don't want later on to see like this skeleton we just built, I fill it completely in with just whatever tissue or paper you have. You could also use like newspaper or just something to fill it in, so it's like pretty tight, and that it's okay that it like bumps out a bit. That's actually just pretty good. When you have filled every gap with paper, I just start taking my masking tape and place it horizontally. And it's pretty important that you do it horizontally because it makes it more stable, and it connects like the skeleton together, so it won't like, you won't be able to see it. So don't place it vertically, that's gonna make it harder. The important part is just that every part of the entire shark is covered. You don't have to cover the bottom though. And as you can see, this is now like it's starting to take shape and looking like a shark. So this is what you have so far. And right now I'm just working on the barbels, which is pretty much just like the shark's whiskers, pretty much. And then I just glue them on. At this point I noticed that I glued them way too close together, so right here just changed it a bit, so it gets further away from each other. But just, yeah, look at the reference photo because I didn't really do that. For the gills, this was pretty much like my first time making like serious gills. I just folded two masking tapes together, so it got like, it wasn't sticky on any of the sides, and then I with another piece of masking tape just bended it a bit and put it together, so it had like this gill-ish look. And then I just made more of those, bended it and put it on, and you need to like stack them a bit so you can't really like see the closing of each of them. And it's good to remember that the middle gills are a bit longer and thicker than the others, so just have that in mind. And a pretty good thing to remember is that the gills does not go further down than the middle of the fin, so that would be like a pretty good thing to have in mind. And this is just how the gills look when I'm all finished. And for the paper mache, I use a couple layers, with the first layer being book. So you just take a book that you don't use and just rip it apart into like, rip all the pages off. Or not all the pages, but you will need a few. And for the paper mache, I just use some school glue or hobby glue, and then just add water. And you want the consistency to be very watery, but you still want like a bit thickness, but very little, not much. It needs to be most watery. Then you just rip like the book pages and let them soak in the paper mache for a minute, and then you just start covering the whole shark. I accidentally added too much water to my paper mache, so the paper like started not sticking as well as I thought it would. So I just took like a layer of napkins or tissues or whatever, and made like an upper layer covering the whole shark, because I knew that this would like help. It's very important that you let the paper mache dry for at least a day. So here's the finished shark in paper mache. And then I picked out some colors to get the most accurate color of the reference picture I got. When I finally got the right color, I just took like a larger paintbrush to to just make it easier. And at this point I was like, okay, the color is great. But then later on when it dried, I noticed that it was way too dark. So yeah, have that in mind, because it probably will turn out darker than you think it will. And when I finished painting the whole base color and the body of the shark, I took a bit darker shade and started adding some dimension and some details. Where you want to add the details is primary the tail and the fins, and then like on the side of the body, like I did in the beginning. And then of course eyes and at the gills. Right here I tried my very best to make like the bone like pretty much like the eyebrow, but it's not very clear, but it's there, it's very subtle. And when I'm all finished, I just take some thick double-sided tape and pretty much just cover like the entire like shark basically. It's very important that you also put like the double-sided tape on the fins, not just the main body. And now you just attach it to the wall. I wanted mine to be like in the living room just over the TV because there's not enough space in my room. So this is the finished shark. I hope you enjoyed watching.